Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Just quick observations because in the interest of time, and I hope as we wait for the report under Standing Order 148 of the Senate Standing Orders, and there's push and pull, and I want to tell the former governor of Mandera, UDM party leader, and the senator of Mandera, Ali Roba, that we are used to such theatrics with the treasury. We hope we can be kept in a clean slate. We have fought over this. There was a time where conditional grants were being given to counties without proper legal framework. But I'm happy our struggle together with the National Assembly and the Senate is almost giving us the fruits of having a legal framework where conditional grants, loans, any addition as envisaged under Article 202, Sub-Article 3, has been now ring-fenced legally, because before it was just like food, which was handed to counties and they decide without legal framework. And I know as members of Public Accounts Committee, these are some of the audit queries that we did handle in the last financial years, in the run-up to the last 5 years in this House and 10 years that I've been there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the committee has done tremendously well. We shall be very keen to look at the amendments that the Ministry of Treasury should propose. But I think as the guiding principle, we will need to look at Article 96 on the interest of protecting the interest of counties as a Senate. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy, and when I look at on the categories, all of them, conditional allocations, Nandi will get likely more 263 million plus. Loan and grants will get 208 million. Equalization fund, Mr. Speaker, will get 158 million in the financial year of 2022-2023. That is in total, Mr. Speaker, is over 629 million plus that will come to Nandi on conditional grants and additional funds as envisaged by Article 202, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, two things. I think we were supposed, and I don't know why the committee did not look that we had what we call sunset clause in terms of financing county headquarters, because I've seen a number of counties that still are being allocated county headquarters development funds. Yet the county speakers, the county assemblies, the county speakers' houses among the counties have not been allocated. I find it strange because we had given a ceiling on financial year on when and how. Maybe they can guide us on that, because we had agreed that under financial years, which was supposed to be before this general election, should be the sunset clause, where county should be allocated county headquarters. Mr. Speaker, these allocations has been done, and I know it's being ring-fenced because some counties argued that their priority is not county headquarters. Like in the first county government of Nandi, in the first 2013-2017 under Governor Dr. Cleophas Lagat, they started building headquarters. The current governor, who has served from 2017 up to now, didn't find it necessary. So it is important that we are ring-fenced. There is a time as a committee we did also visit Nyamira County, and we realized they don't have a space that they operate from. So, Mr. Speaker, counties, in as much as they want to be popular, these are facilities and amenities. Because, Mr. Speaker, what shocks, like for example, in my county, we pay for our Governor Sang almost 200 to 500,000 per month for rent to live in Eldoret. If we had constructed a house for him, we would have saved that 500,000 per year. Similar to Senator or Governor of Nairobi. Yet there are facilities governors should appreciate. The reason we need county headquarters to be constructed is to save the rent. Some of the governors are squatting in national government buildings that are being controlled by NGAO, National Government Administration Offices, and they are squatting. Yet we have given them money to construct county headquarters, to construct governors' residence, to construct speakers. Even county assemblies are paying rent for their county speakers, Mr. Speaker. Yet it is important that we are located. The county assembly chambers must be constructed. It is not a luxury that you cherry pick simply because you want to appear popular among your voters. These are necessary amenities, Mr. Speaker. And I hope the Committee of Finance and Budget in future must issue a caveat that if any county has not finished constructing their county headquarters, the governor's residence, the speaker's residence, the speaker's chambers, they must be surcharged and sanctioned. Because we don't want to be paying rent for people to perambulate. That is a heavy English word, Mr. Speaker. For people to be paying rent, how can we be paying rent? It's very expensive. Just like Senate here and there's, Mr. Speaker, the Senate and the National Assembly, we have official residence. You can imagine if we were renting State House for our president. It is inconveniencing, it is expensive, Mr. Speaker, and they should know that, those are not my personal. Mr. Speaker, I have seen a strange animal, which we have fought for the last 5 years. And I remember the Minister of Interior, who was then Deputy Speaker where you are sitting from, it looks like that seat is a preserve of Meru and Tarakaniti, Mr. Speaker, gave us direction that we investigate the issue of medical equipment supplies. I'm surprised the Senate had taken a position that the issue of MES, medical equipment supplies leasing, must be relooked at, Mr. Speaker. But I can see it's still rearing its ugly head, which every county, and you know the sad thing, Mr. Speaker, this medical equipment supplies, it is detected at the source. So by the time the money is allocated to counties, it is already detected at the source. It is not even given to the counties, and that is why you see every county under conditional grant raising of medical equipment is 110,638,298. Mr. Speaker, we made so many reports, even before the Health Committee, before the ADO Committee, before the Joint Committee of Health and the Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights. We discussed this issue, that this is a ripoff. In fact, there are many reports, Mr. Speaker, that even the governors and other agencies have declared county medical equipment supplies scheme as an outright ripoff. Because we are, Mr. Speaker, you know, when you read that report, and it is sad that I have to say this, in that report we were leasing gloves. How can you lease gloves? We were leasing bed sheets. We were leasing syringes. We need to be serious, and I expected the committee led by Senator Roba to write a caveat on these medical equipment supplies. Because how do you lease a syringe? How do you lease an apron? You know, these are things, Mr. Speaker, that, and in fact, the companies that were given to supply these medical equipment, we know them. Some of them have been blacklisted in the world, Mr. Speaker. Like one from, there is a one from America, other local companies, and many others, Mr. Speaker. So we need the Committee of Finance and Budget. This Senate has taken a position that medical equipment supplies was an outright ripoff. Who are these people, Mr. Speaker? Before allocating money to Meru, they must cut at Treasury. Who are they? Who gives them power? It is not even in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. So we must, these cartels, they must be called out as they are, Mr. Speaker. And you know, senators here are sitting pretty. Yet, Mr. Speaker, we should be vigilant. We should be, in fact, the Senate should push that we immediately stop and cancel the early medical leasing agreement. Because you have heard Senator Sifuna has talked about that there is one equipment that is used to check on the issue of leukemia or is anemic. Mr. Speaker, if you had given, you know, counties, when you look at the total that have been paid over the years, there was a time they were paying billions and billions of shillings. If you give 110 million or 200 million per year for counties to purchase dialysis machine, cancer machine, any other hemogram machine that checks on the blood count, Mr. Speaker, it would have been more cheaper than leasing it, Mr. Speaker. So it is very expensive. And mind you, national government is micromanaging health, yet under fourth schedule, health is a devolved function. So in other words, there is a problem that we need to really address, Mr. Speaker, and I think, and I hope the Chair of Finance and Budget should look at my Solomonic submission, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that we don't travel in that direction, Mr. Speaker, because this is a very serious issue. We are aiding and abetting corruption. If this thing will be investigated, Mr. Speaker, they will be shocked. when somebody will walk through this door, they will be surprised. Senate sat, say this is a public rip-off. But they went ahead and approved for 4 finances to medical equipment scheme, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another point that I wanted to make is on the accountability aspect. I've talked about Mr. Speaker, that the accountability governors should be aware that it is not optional, Mr. Speaker, to be accountable, Mr. Speaker. I hope when the money goes, Mr. Speaker, these conditional grants, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of equalization fund, I know you served in the National Assembly, and we really grapple on this issue of equalization fund. Who qualifies? How do we use it? What is the criteria? How is it compounded? We did have a discussion between the National Assembly and the Senate, Mr. Speaker, and we did agree that marginalization does not happen only in Northeastern. Even Nairobi here, you can have marginalization. Even in Meru, even in Nandi, even in anywhere, Mr. Speaker, marginalization can happen. And when a report was being tabled here, during the fight, Mr. Speaker, on the revenue formula, and I've had my brother has alluded to, and those days I was leading one man, one vote, 1 shilling, because I believe money should go to where the people are. The more the people, the more the money. But at the end of the day, of course, we fought through. We end up, as a Senate, come up with a win-win situation. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, at that time, a report was being tabled by Kenya Bureau of Statistics and said poverty is not in Northeastern or in Mandera. Poverty is domiciled in Busia, in Kakamega, and many other parts of Kenya, where traditionally we perceive that the marginalized areas are more poor. We realize the areas that are being perceived are more worse, like even including Migori, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, the issue of equalization fund in terms of marginalization in the concept of the constitutional provision must be relooked. And I'm happy that the equalization fund has tried to be, and even Nandi, I think Nandi has gotten, in terms of equalization fund, around 158 million. And those are a number of locations and sub-location levels that are within Tindred sub-county, Mr. Speaker. So this issue of equalization fund under Article 204, the rules and regulations must, Mr. Speaker, be relooked at so that equalization fund, and I want to ask the Finance and Budget Committee to also be futuristic, because marginalization keeps changing, Mr. Speaker, because it keeps changing. By the way, today with the housing program, and I want to confirm to the Senator of Nairobi, Senator Edwin Sifuna, that after some time we will change the face of Kibra with the housing program that the president has. After some time, the living standards of Kibra will change. What does it mean? It might move away from the marginalized, Mr. Speaker, and now become economically stable. Somewhere else within Nairobi might develop to something that might create marginalization, Mr. Speaker. So we need to relook on how we allocate equalization fund, Mr. Speaker, and go into the future looking at that. Mr. Speaker, on the 4th point and final one, because I wanted to finish on the equalization, on the issue of accountability, Mr. Speaker, we must relook at...
Senator Cheralgei, the senator for Migori County, wants to inform you.
Do I really trust the information?
I want to inform you.
I thought he should be learning from me.
Do you want to be informed?
No, at this point, I don't want to be informed. Okay. Because I don't trust the way he's smiling sheepishly. He's smiling sheepishly, Mr. Speaker. And you know, as my junior, Mr. Speaker, he should be taking notes while I speak and learning from the best. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, on the issue of transparency and accountability, and I expected Senator Sifuna, because he serves with me in the Public Accounts Committee, that the issue of accountability is not negotiable. Of course, I'm extrapolating, Mr. Speaker. The issue, this money that we are giving out, part of the role under Article 96 is oversight. This money must be accounted for from 1 shilling to millions of shillings that we allocate, Mr. Speaker. Governors must know that we are not allocating this money for free range or to play around with. They must account. And as a role of oversight that we play under Article 96, Mr. Speaker, the great governor of Migori, Ochilo Ayako, who was a senator here and was my chair in the CPIC, and now my brother, Senator Eddie Kisheru, must know that Governor Ochilo Ayako does not have a freelance to use the money that has been allocated to the great people of Migori. He must account for every shilling. If it comes from the Denmark, Danida, if it comes from Kenya Support Urban Program, that is allocated under World Bank in terms of Kenya infrastructural development programs, even it must be accounted for. Even we want to improve Narok Town, Mr. Speaker, where Senator Ledama comes from. If the World Bank allocates money on Kenya improvement, structural improvement program, we must account for Governor, the former governor, I almost say governor tonight, you have a new governor, Olentutu. He must account for it, Mr. Speaker. There is no option about accountability. And we must take this thing to every governor. Even my governor does not have anywhere to hide. This money that is allocated around 700 million to Nandi County, he must account. If you don't want to account for public money, why did you run for that office? And governors, Mr. Speaker, who might finish? I know I can see Meru, Mr. Speaker, the temperatures are coming down. The sugar levels in Meru was going through the roof. But I'm happy, I don't know whether you injected some drugs to cool the temperatures. But if, for example, Governor Kawira Mwangaza, it finishes 10 years or 1 term, she should be aware that she must be careful. Because Article 206 of Article 5 will catch up with her. There is what we call personal responsibility, Mr. Speaker. 226 as of Article 5. Thank you, Senator Ledama. 2265, Mr. Speaker. Even if you run away, I can see NMS, Mr. Speaker, General Mbadi thinks that he have assets and liabilities, he will never be culpable. Governor Kananu, former governors, Mr. Speaker, they must be aware that 226 Article 5 is knocking on their door. Governor Tunai, or any other former governor, and I'm not saying this in bad faith, I'm saying it in good faith that if you did not account for any money that was provided, if it is about Masai Mara collections, about the town council of Narok, where it came before our committee, you must account for that money, Mr. Speaker. Any governor across the region, whichever, if you come, even Governor Kidero, former governors that we have in this country, Mr. Speaker. So accountability, Mr. Speaker, is no longer an option. And I want, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, so that I sit ground to other colleagues, the EACC, when we summoned EACC, Mr. Speaker, I was sitting where you were sitting. EACC came, the report they tabled is they have only succeeded in convicting somebody who took 20,000 bribe. 20,000? 20,000. That is like $20. Is it $20 or $200? They had only convicted and succeeded in convicting somebody over a bribe of 20,000. But people who have looted in county governments are working scot-free. They are working to EACC the way they want. They are manipulated EACC. EACC do an ordinary morning raid. You tell them they have seized documents. After some time, it is written headlines. And you know our media are very good at giving very juicy headlines. They say they have arrested so-and-so, Governor so, with 200 million case. After some time, it fizzles out, Mr. Speaker. It is because EACC must tell us whether they are in bed with governors or not, whether they are fighting corruption or they are hiding corruption, because they can be hiding corruption, Mr. Speaker, or they are doing laundry. You know, also they can be doing what we call laundry, Mr. Speaker, and you know there is somebody in this country who has been doing laundry businesses. But we don't want to mention names, whether they are doing laundry. Because EACC has not, Mr. Speaker, EACC has not, and you know, we used to know that person who used to operate laundry services. But under Kenya Kwanza, that laundry services and washing machine will be closed down, because we will not allow, Mr. Speaker, for any governor, including Governor Otichilo. If Governor Otichilo has made, has misappropriated funds, he must be taken to the court, Mr. Speaker. We cannot allow, Mr. Speaker, so we cannot talk about laundry services. Mr. Speaker, Governor Otichilo, if he has misappropriated funds.
Senator Cheralgei, there is another point of information. This
No,
time around, not
is it,
from your junior.
now for Gagalao, so
Is your age mate, not your junior.
Point of information. The Honorable Senator, who is my neighbor,